Hi guys, this is Anthony. Welcome back to History for Sleep. Tonight we are leaving the solid ground behind. We are stepping onto the damp, creaking deck of a pirate ship in the heart of the Caribbean, sometime around the year 1718. This is the so-called golden age of piracy. But tonight we are not concerned with treasure maps or swashbuckling adventures. We are here to experience the grit, the grime, the sheer monotonous reality of what it was like to simply exist for one day on a vessel outside the law. My goal, as always, is to immerse you in the sensory world of the past. We're going to feel the tropical sun, smell the tar and bilge water, hear the snap of the sails, and feel the deep, bone-wearying exhaustion that was the constant companion of these men. If you enjoy this journey, I would be so grateful if you would leave a like, subscribe for more voyages into the past, and maybe drop a comment to let me know where in the world you are listening from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel. All right, let's get into it. Find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and let the sounds and sensations of the past wash over you. Here we go. The first thing you feel is not the rocking of the ship. Your body has become so accustomed to the constant, gentle sway that it has become the new stillness, the baseline of your existence. The first thing you truly feel is the damp. It is a profound and penetrating dampness that lives in your thin wool blanket, in the rough wood of the bunk beneath you, and in the very air you breathe. It is a living entity, a mix of sea mist, sweat, and the perpetual exhalations of 36 sleeping men crammed into the forecastle. Then comes the smell. It is a thick, layered assault on the senses, so potent it almost has a texture. At the bottom is the ever-present stench of the bilge, a sour, stagnant cocktail of old seawater, rot, and human waste that seeps up through the floorboards. Layered on top of that is the sharp, medicinal tang of tar from the ropes and the caulking in the hull, and over it all, the close, animal smell of unwashed bodies, stale rum, and the faint, unsettling sweetness of decay that clings to everything on a wooden ship in the tropics. You breathe it in, not because you want to, but because it is the only air there is. It is the smell of your world. The sounds filter in next, a familiar symphony of the ship at rest. The deep, rhythmic groaning of the timbers as the hull flexes with the gentle swell of the Caribbean. It sounds like a great beast sighing in its sleep. The soft, intermittent flap of a loose bit of canvas high above on a yardarm. The chorus of snores, wheezes, and guttural muttering from the men packed around you, above you, and below you in the tiered bunks. You can identify some of them by their sleeping sounds alone. Old Finian, with his wet, gurgling snore. The boy, Thomas, who whimpers in his sleep. Someone shifts, and the ropes of their bunk creak in protest. You keep your eyes closed for a moment longer, trying to hold on to the last dregs of unconsciousness. Sleep is the only true escape, the only time you are not tired or hungry or afraid. But the light is changing. Through your closed eyelids, the darkness is softening from pitch black to a bruised purple. The first hint of dawn is filtering through the open hatchway, a promise of another day of heat and labor. Your back aches from the hard, unforgiving wood of your bunk. Your joints are stiff, and a dull pain throbs in your left shoulder, a constant reminder of the day you slipped on the wet deck and slammed against the capstan. Your sleeping space is not a bed, not a room, but a shelf. It is a narrow plank of wood, barely wider than your shoulders, wedged into the curving wall of the ship's bow. You are in the forecastle, the triangular space at the very front of the ship, which serves as the crew's cramped and communal living quarters. There is no privacy here. You sleep surrounded by the breathing, sweating, dreaming bodies of your fellow sailors. The man in the bunk across the narrow gap is so close you could reach out and touch his face. His name is Davis, and he smells perpetually of stale tobacco. You are 19 years old. You do not think of yourself by your given name anymore. Names are from another life, a life on solid ground where you were a clerk's apprentice, where your hands were soft and stained with ink, not calloused and scarred by rope. Here, you are just you, or boy, or lad, another pair of hands to pull a line or scrub a deck. You have been on this ship, the Sea Serpent, for 5 months. 5 months since you were taken from a merchant vessel that offered too little resistance. You were given a choice: join the crew or be left on a deserted spit of sand. At the time it felt like a choice. Now you are not so sure. A loud, hacking cough from the bunk below yours finally breaks the spell of near sleep. It is a deep, chest-rattling sound, followed by a wet spit that you pray hits the floorboards and not the underside of your bunk. The coughing fit seems to be a signal. More men begin to stir, groaning and cursing as they swing their legs over the sides of their bunks. The delicate ecosystem of sleep is shattered. The day has begun, whether you are ready for it or not. You force your eyes open. The world swims into a blurry, dim focus. The forecastle is a cave of shadows and shifting shapes. The air is thick with the dust motes dancing in the single, weak shaft of grey light from the hatch. You see the shapes of men sitting up, stretching, their bare backs and shoulders etched with old scars and fresh insect bites. The air thickens with the sound of joints popping and the soft thud of bare feet hitting the deck. The reluctance to move is a physical weight. Every muscle in your body protests, your hands ache, your feet, perpetually damp and soft, throb with a low-grade pain. To rise is to accept the reality of the day, to submit your body to another 12 or 14 hours of labor under a relentless sun. For a single fleeting moment, you entertain the fantasy of just lying here, of refusing to move, of letting the day happen without you. But the fantasy is thin and useless. It evaporates in the face of necessity. Survival is a current, and it pulls you along. With a groan that is part pain and part resignation, you swing your legs over the side of the bunk. The wood is rough and splintery against your calves. You sit there for a moment, your head hanging, your hair falling into your face. The ship gives a more pronounced roll, and you automatically place a hand on the bunk above to steady yourself. The motion is as instinctive as breathing now. You are a part of the ship, and it is a part of you. Your feet touch the deck. It is cool and slightly sticky. You stand up slowly, your spine uncurling one vertebra at a time. You are wearing the same clothes you slept in, a pair of loose, knee-length canvas breeches and a collarless linen shirt, both stiff with salt and sweat. No one changes clothes. You wear them until they rot off your body, and then you are issued new ones from the ship's stores, usually taken from the last prize. A sharp, piercing whistle cuts through the low murmur of the waking men. It is the boatswain's pipe, the sound that punctuates the day, signaling every change in the routine. This is the call to rouse out, the official start of the working day. The sound is followed by the boatswain's voice, a gravelly roar from the deck. "Rouse out! All hands! Tumble up, you lazy dogs! Sun's breaking!" The voice is full of impatient energy, a stark contrast to the weary groans of the men around you. There is a shuffling of bodies towards the ladder that leads up to the main deck. You join the slow-moving queue, your bare feet sticking to the grimy floor. The air grows warmer and more humid as you approach the hatch, the promise of the tropical heat already present. You climb the steep, narrow ladder, your hands gripping the worn, greasy wood of the rails. Your head emerges from the darkness of the forecastle into the soft, grey light of dawn. The air on deck is a revelation. It is fresh and clean, tasting of salt and open water. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs, trying to purge the foulness of the sleeping quarters. The sky to the east is a slash of pale orange and pink against a dark purple canvas. The sea is calm, A vast expanse of deep, dark blue, swelling and falling with a gentle, hypnotic rhythm. The decks are wet with dew, glistening in the pre-dawn light. The initial chore of the day is always the same: washing down the decks. It is a ritual that is part hygiene, part discipline. Buckets are already being lowered over the side on ropes, hauled up dripping with cold, clear seawater. The water is sloshed across the wooden planks, and the men get to work. You grab a holy stone, a large, heavy block of sandstone, and find a section of the deck. The work is mindless and back-breaking. You kneel on the wet planks, the cold water soaking through the knees of your breeches. You grip the stone with both hands and begin to push and pull it across the deck, your body falling into the familiar rocking motion. The stone grinds against the wood, a gritty, scraping sound that joins the chorus of 24 other stones working in unison. The purpose is to scrub away the grime of the previous day and to keep the wooden planks from becoming too slippery with algae and sea slime. A quirky detail about life at sea during this period is the origin of the term holy stone. Smaller blocks of sandstone, used for getting into corners and tight spaces, were called prayer books, because the men using them were on their knees, as if in prayer. The larger stones, like the one you are using, were simply called Bibles. It is a piece of grim sailor's humor that feels deeply appropriate as you kneel here performing your morning penance. Your arms and back quickly begin to ache, the muscles protesting the sudden, strenuous work. You focus on the rhythm, on the push and pull. Push, scrape, pull, scrape. The water splashes around your knees. The salty spray stings the cuts on your hands. You keep your head down, watching the patch of wood in front of you slowly lighten in color as the stone does its work. You do not speak. No one does. The only sounds are the scraping of the stones, the sloshing of water, and the occasional grunt of effort. After what feels like an eternity, but is probably no more than an hour, the boatswain's whistle shrieks again. The signal to stop. You slowly, painfully push yourself to your feet. Your knees are raw, and your back is a knot of pain. You look across the deck. The wood is clean, pale, and drying quickly in the strengthening sun, which has now fully cleared the horizon, painting the sea in dazzling shades of gold and blue. The first task is done. Now comes the first meal. There is no formal mess hall. The men simply gather in small groups on the deck, finding a place to sit on a coil of rope or leaning against the ship's rail. The cook and his mate, working from their galley, a simple brick firebox on the open deck, are doling out breakfast. The smell of boiling water and something vaguely oaty fills the air. You join the line, your stomach growling with a hollow ache. The cook, a one-eyed man named Jem, slops a ladleful of greyish mush into your wooden bowl. It is burgoo, a sort of porridge made from oatmeal or crushed groats boiled with water. It is thick, bland, and utterly unappetizing, but it is hot, and it is food. You are also handed your daily ration of ship's biscuit. You take your bowl and your biscuit and find a spot near the foremast, out of the main thoroughfare. You sit on the deck, your back against the solid wood of the mast, and begin to eat. The burgoo has no real flavour, just a pasty texture and a slight warmth. You eat it quickly, mechanically, shoveling it into your mouth with a crude wooden spoon. This is not for pleasure, it is for fuel. You turn your attention to the biscuit. It is a square, dense cracker, about 1/2 inch thick and as hard as a piece of wood. This is hardtack, the staple food of any long sea voyage. It is made from a simple dough of flour, water, and sometimes a little salt, then baked multiple times until it is completely devoid of moisture. This process makes it incredibly durable, capable of lasting for years if kept dry. A mainstream historical fact that often surprises people is the sheer durability and hardness of ship's biscuit. It was often so hard that sailors could not bite into it directly. They would have to break it into smaller pieces by striking it against something solid or by soaking it in whatever liquid they had available, water, coffee, or grog, to soften it. Your biscuit is, as always, crawling with life. You can see the small, dark shapes of weevils and the white, wriggling forms of their larvae in the tiny tunnels they have bored through the cracker. The new hands, the ones fresh from land, are often disgusted by this. They try to pick the insects out. The veterans, however, know it is a losing battle. You have learned to do as they do. You hold the biscuit over your bowl of burgoo and tap it firmly against the mast. A shower of small black insects falls into your porridge. This is called tapping out the captain. The sailors joke that the weevils are just extra protein. You are not sure if you find the joke funny, but you have stopped caring. You break off a piece of the biscuit, dip it into the last of the warm mush to soften it slightly, and chew. It tastes of stale flour and dust. To wash it down, you have your ration of water. It is stored in wooden casks, and by this point in the voyage, it is no longer fresh. It has a foul, slimy taste and a faint smell of sulfur. You drink it anyway, forcing it down, because dehydration in the tropical heat is a swift and merciless killer. Later in the day there will be a ration of grog, rum mixed with water, but the morning is for this foul, life-sustaining liquid. As you finish your meager meal, you watch the other men. They are a rough, hard-looking collection of humanity. Men from a dozen different nations, their faces weathered by sun and sea, their bodies scarred by work and violence. There is little conversation. The morning is a time of quiet, weary preparation for the day ahead. A few men are checking the rigging, their eyes scanning the complex web of ropes and spars high above. The quartermaster, Silas, is talking quietly with the captain near the helm. Silas is the second most powerful man on the ship, after the captain. A key aspect of the pirate social structure was its surprising democracy. The captain was elected by the crew, and was in absolute command only during battle or a chase. All other times, his authority was checked by the quartermaster, who was also elected. The quartermaster was responsible for maintaining order, settling disputes, and most importantly, dividing the plunder. He was the crew's representative. Silas is a tall, gaunt man with pale, watchful eyes. He rarely raises his voice, but when he speaks, men listen. He knows you are good with numbers, a remnant of your past life. A few times he has called on you to help tally stores or calculate shares after a small prize was taken. It is a strange, tenuous connection, a hint that you might be more than just another faceless deckhand. It is a source of both hope and anxiety. The sun is higher now, its warmth turning to a more aggressive heat. The brief respite of the meal is over. The boatswain is on his feet again, his pipe at his lips. The day's real work is about to begin. The ship is currently sailing under easy canvas, making slow progress through the calm seas, but the captain has decided to take advantage of the light winds to perform maintenance. Today's task is retarring the standing rigging. The whistle blows, a long, clear note that calls all hands to their stations. All hands to the rigging. Break out the tar, boys. Let's earn our keep. The command echoes across the deck. Men groan and push themselves to their feet, dropping their empty bowls into a collection bucket. There is a flurry of organized activity as the necessary equipment is prepared. Large pots of thick, black tar are brought up from the hold. A fire is carefully tended in the galley's brick firebox to heat the tar until it is viscous and spreadable. The smell, a pungent, almost acrid odor, soon dominates the air, overpowering even the salt and the bilge. It is a smell you associate with hard, dirty work. You are assigned to a group working on the shrouds of the foremast, the thick, heavy ropes that run from the masthead down to the sides of the ship, supporting the mast. Your job is to go aloft, into the web of rigging, and apply the hot tar to the ropes to protect them from the corrosive effects of salt and sun. You look up at the mast, at the dizzying ladder of ropes and spars disappearing into the bright blue sky. A familiar knot of fear tightens in your stomach. You have been up there dozens of times, but the fear never completely goes away. The ship, which feels so large and stable when you are on deck, seems perilously small and fragile from 100 feet in the air. You take a small bucket of warm, sticky tar and a crude brush made of rope fibers. You secure the bucket to your belt with a short length of line. You spit on your hands, rub them together, and begin to climb. The rat lines, the small ropes tied across the shrouds to form a ladder, are stiff and abrasive under your bare feet. Your toes curl, gripping the ropes. Your hands find familiar holds. The first part of the climb is easy, almost vertical. But then the shrouds angle inward, following the shape of the mast, and you are forced to climb on an overhang, your body leaning out over the churning water below. You do not look down. You focus on the rope in front of your face, on the next handhold, the next foothold. 1 hand, 1 foot, 1 hand, 1 foot. The rhythm of the climb. The higher you go, the more the ship's movement is amplified. The gentle roll of the deck becomes a wide, sweeping arc through the sky. The mast sways like a giant pendulum. You feel the wind stronger up here, a steady, warm breeze that pulls at your shirt and whispers in your ears. The sounds of the deck fade away, replaced by the whistle of the wind through the rigging and the creak of the mast. You reach your assigned position, about 80 feet above the deck. You find a secure footing, wedging your feet against 2 of the thick shrouds, and brace yourself against the mast. You are now part of the rigging yourself, another component in the vast, intricate machine of the ship. From here, the view is breathtaking and terrifying. The deck is a collection of small, foreshortened figures. The sea is a vast, endless circle of shimmering blue, meeting the sky at a sharp, clean horizon. You can see the curve of the earth. For a moment, you are paralyzed by the sheer scale of it all. You feel like a tiny, insignificant speck, clinging to a splinter of wood in the middle of an immense and indifferent universe. A shout from below breaks your reverie. "Get to it, boy. You're not up there to admire the view." It is the boatswain. His voice sounds thin and distant. You shake off the vertigo and turn to your task. You unhook your bucket and dip your brush into the thick, black tar. The work is slow and methodical. You smear the tar onto the thick, hempen ropes, working it into the fibers. The tar is warm and sticky, and it gets everywhere, on your hands, your arms, your face. The sun beats down on your back, and the heat reflecting off the black tar is intense. You work in a small team. A man named Blackwood is just above you, and another, older sailor named O'Malley is below. There is no conversation, just the shared understanding of the task. You move in a slow, careful rhythm, your bodies swaying in unison with the mast. You can hear the soft thud of Blackwood's brush against the rope above you, the steady sound of his breathing. It is a strange, isolated intimacy. The sun climbs higher in the sky, becoming a white, searing disk. Sweat pours down your face, stinging your eyes. The tar on your hands begins to feel hot, almost burning. Your muscles scream in protest. Holding your body in this awkward, strained position for hours is a form of torture. Your legs tremble with the effort of gripping the rope. Your arms ache from the repetitive motion of painting. You fall into a trance, a state of mindless endurance. Your world shrinks to the section of rope in front of you, the feel of the brush in your hand, the smell of the tar, the heat of the sun. The vastness of the sea disappears. The fear of falling recedes. There is only the work. This is how you survive the day. You break it down into 1,000 small, manageable moments. This brush stroke, this breath, this shift of your weight, of time loses its meaning. There is only the slow, painstaking progress along the rope. You finish one section and move carefully to the next, your body a collection of aches and pains. You feel a drip of hot tar land on your forearm. It sears your skin, a sharp, sudden pain. You bite back a cry, a string of curses forming in your mind, but you do not say them. A moment of inattention, a sudden movement could be fatal up here. You ignore the pain, which quickly subsides into a dull, throbbing burn. It will be another scar, another mark on the map of your body that tells the story of this life. A historical detail concerning the crew is that pirate ships were often surprisingly well maintained. Contrary to the image of dilapidated, rotting vessels, a pirate ship was a crew's only home, their primary tool for survival, and their only means of escape. They could not simply pull into a friendly port for repairs. As a result, the crew, who were all shareholders in the enterprise, had a vested interest in keeping their vessel in the best possible condition. Tasks like tarring the rigging, recorking seams, and repairing sails were constant, necessary labors. Your mind begins to drift, a common coping mechanism for the crushing monotony of the work. You think of your old life, of the cool, dusty smell of the counting house, the scratch of a quill on paper, the simple pleasure of walking on a street that did not move beneath your feet. The memories are sharp and painful, like shards of glass. They feel like they belong to someone else, a person you barely remember. Was that really you? The boy who was afraid of thunderstorms and dreamed of owning his own shop? It seems impossible. You try to push the thoughts away, to focus on the here and now, but your mind has a will of its own. It wanders to the future, a place abstract and terrifying as the past is painful. What is the end of this? A share of plunder, a pocketful of gold that will be spent in a week of drunken debauchery in some lawless port? A sudden, violent end in a battle with a Spanish warship? Or a slow, ignominious death from disease or accident? You see no clear path, only the endless rolling sea and the endless rolling days. A shout from the deck signals the midday break. "Nooning! Lay down from aloft!" The call is a profound relief, a temporary reprieve from the tyranny of the sun and the rigging. Carefully, painstakingly, you begin your descent. Going down is harder in some ways than going up. Your muscles are fatigued and trembling, and your sense of balance is less certain. You move slowly, testing each foothold before putting your full weight on it. When your feet finally touch the solid, familiar deck, your legs almost buckle. The deck feels preternaturally still after the constant swaying of the masthead. You stand there for a moment, disoriented, your body vibrating with the memory of the motion. Your hands are black with tar, your shirt is stained, and your skin is slick with a mixture of sweat and grime. The midday meal is being served. It is as simple and functional as breakfast. The cook has boiled a large pot of salted beef. The meat was preserved in barrels of salt and is so tough and briny that it must be boiled for hours to be even remotely edible. You are given a few stringy, greyish chunks of this meat in your bowl, along with another piece of hardtack. This time, however, there is also the day's first ration of grog. A man stands beside a large cask, the scuttlebutt, and doles out a measure of the mixture into each man's cup. Grog was a relatively recent invention, credited to British Admiral Edward Vernon in 1740, but the practice of mixing rum with water was common long before it was officially mandated in the Royal Navy. On a pirate ship, it was a crucial part of the daily routine. The rum helped to kill some of the foul taste of the stale water, and the alcohol provided a temporary boost to morale and a dulling of the senses. You take your portion and find your spot again, your back against the mast. The beef is chewy and incredibly salty, but it is a welcome change from the morning's burgoo. You break your hardtack into the salty broth at the bottom of the bowl, letting it soak into a pulpy mass. You eat slowly, savouring the brief period of rest. The grog is warm and harsh in your throat, but it sends a pleasant, spreading warmth through your chest. The sharp edges of your exhaustion and anxiety begin to soften. The break is short, no more than half an hour. It is just long enough to refuel your body and catch your breath. Men do not talk much. They are focused on their food, on the simple, animal pleasure of eating and resting. Some men check their handiwork, examining the freshly tarred ropes. Others simply lie on the deck, their eyes closed, their faces turned to the sky. You see a man tending to a wound on his foot, carefully wrapping it with a strip of dirty cloth. The care of the body is a constant, low-level chore. You lean your head back against the mast and close your eyes. The sun is warm on your face. The gentle rocking of the ship is a soothing lullaby. For a few precious minutes, there is a sense of peace. It is not happiness, not contentment, but a simple absence of struggle. The feeling of stopping is almost as overwhelming as the feeling of working. Your body sinks into the deck, every muscle crying out for a deeper, longer rest that it will not get. Too soon, the boatswain's whistle cuts through the quiet. The sound is sharp and unwelcome, a spike of reality in the soft haze of your rest. Up, up, back to it! The sun's not waiting for you! A collective groan rises from the men. The effort of pushing your protesting body back into motion is immense. It feels like you are lifting a great weight. You force yourself to your feet, your joints cracking, your muscles screaming. The brief respite is over. The afternoon ordeal begins. You are not sent back up the mast. The tarring of the standing rigging is largely complete. Now the running rigging, the ropes used to control the sails, must be checked and repaired. This is deck-level work, but it is no less demanding. You are assigned to a team tasked with unreeving a frayed topsail sheet, a thick rope that has been chafed by a block. The work is heavy and awkward. You and 5 other men position yourselves along the length of the rope. On the boatswain's call, you heave, pulling the massive rope through a series of blocks and guides. Heave! And again, heave! The boatswain's voice is the rhythm to which you work. Your feet slip on the deck, your hands burn from the friction of the rope, your back strains with the effort. The rope is stiff and heavy, fighting you every inch of the way. The afternoon sun is a merciless tyrant. There is no shade on the open deck. The heat radiates up from the wooden planks, creating a shimmering haze in the air. The light is blinding, reflecting off the water in a million dazzling, painful points. Sweat streams from you, soaking your clothes, but it offers no relief in the humid air. Your thirst becomes a constant, nagging presence in the back of your throat. This is the hardest part of the day. The initial energy of the morning is gone. The brief boost from the midday meal has faded. All that is left is a deep, grinding weariness. Your body moves on autopilot. Your mind, desperate for escape, detaches. You are vaguely aware of your own movements, of the rope in your hands, of the shouts of the boatswain, but it all seems to be happening to someone else. You enter a state the old sailors call the doldrums, a mental stupor brought on by heat, exhaustion, and monotony. Your thoughts become a slow, muddy river of disconnected images and sensations. The face of your mother, her expression worried, the feeling of cool grass under your bare feet, the taste of a fresh apple, the black, sticky tar on your hands, the throbbing of the burn on your arm, the endless, blinding blue of the sea. The environment itself becomes an antagonist. The sun is a physical weight on your shoulders. The humidity is a wet blanket, suffocating you. The unchanging landscape of sea and sky is a form of sensory deprivation, a vast, empty canvas that drives the mind inward, forcing you to confront your own fatigue and despair. You feel trapped, a prisoner on this small, floating piece of wood. You look at the faces of the other men. They are blank masks of endurance. Their eyes are narrowed against the sun. Their jaws are set. Their movements are economical and practiced. They are also in the doldrums. They have learned, through long and bitter experience, how to shut down the parts of their mind that are not essential for the task at hand. They have learned how to endure. This is the central lesson of this life. Not to fight, not to conquer, but to endure. A quirky historical fact about the pirate life is that, despite their reputation for lawlessness, Most pirate crews operated under a strict set of rules, known as the ship's articles. These articles were a contract, agreed upon and signed by every member of the crew. They laid out the rules of conduct, the division of labor, the punishments for infractions, and, most importantly, the distribution of all plunder. This system of self-governance was a radical departure from the tyrannical hierarchy of the merchant marine and the Royal Navy, and it was one of the key reasons men were drawn to the pirate life. It offered a form of freedom and equality unheard of in the mainstream world. You remember the day you signed the Articles of the Sea Serpent. Silas, the quartermaster, had laid the document on the head of a barrel. He read the rules aloud in his calm, steady voice. A share for every man. No fighting on board. No women allowed on the ship. Desertion punishable by death or marooning. You had taken the quill, dipped it in the ink pot, and made your mark, a shaky X next to your printed name. At that moment, you had officially died to your old world and been reborn into this one. A sudden, sharp crack echoes across the ship, jolting you from your stupor. It is the sound of a block, a wooden pulley, giving way under strain. A rope whips through the air with a terrifying hiss. Men shout and scramble out of the way. You see the broken block clatter to the deck, and the heavy yardarm it was supporting slumps, the sail going slack. No one is hurt, but it is a stark reminder of the constant danger. A moment's inattention, a piece of worn equipment can lead to disaster. The boatswain is there in an instant, bellowing orders. The damage is assessed. A new block is brought up from the stores. A team, including you, is tasked with securing the loose yardarm and re-rigging the sail. The incident breaks the monotony, injecting a shot of adrenaline into the weary crew. The work is difficult and dangerous, requiring coordination and strength, but it is a problem to be solved, a crisis to be managed, and in a strange way, it is a relief from the mindless labor that preceded it. It takes nearly 2 hours to repair the damage. By the time the yardarm is secured and the sail is reset, the sun is noticeably lower in the sky. Its light has softened from a harsh white to a warm gold. The oppressive heat of the afternoon has begun to break. A cooler breeze is picking up from the east. You can feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere on board. The end of the working day is approaching. The boatswain's whistle sounds, but this time it is a different call. It is the signal to secure the ship for the night. "Belay all work! Stand down and secure!" The words are a balm to your soul. A wave of profound relief washes over you, so intense it makes you feel weak. You have made it. You have survived another day. The end of the day's main labor does not mean the work is over, but it does signal a change in its nature. The frantic, heavy work of maintenance gives way to the more routine, almost ritualistic chores of the evening. Sails are trimmed and secured for the night. Loose gear on the deck is stowed away. The hatches are checked. The watch is changed. Your final task is to help coil the ropes that were used in the day's work. You take a length of thick, coarse rope and begin to lay it in a neat, concentric circle on the deck. Your hands, though calloused, are raw and tender from the day's abuse. The simple act of handling the rope sends jolts of pain up your arms, but there is a satisfaction in the work, in bringing order to the chaos, in preparing the ship for its night's rest. As you work, you watch the sunset. It is a spectacle of breathtaking beauty. The sun, a perfect disk of molten gold, sinks towards the horizon, painting the undersides of the few scattered clouds in fiery shades of orange, pink, and crimson. The sea, which was a hard, bright blue all day, softens to a deep, velvety purple, shot through with shimmering reflections of the sky. For a few minutes, the entire world is bathed in a warm, ethereal glow. You pause in your work, mesmerized by the sight. The other men, too, seem to stop what they are doing, their rough, weathered faces turned to the west. In this moment, the shared hardship and the brutal reality of your lives seem to fall away, replaced by a sense of awe. It is a fleeting moment of grace, a reminder that there is still beauty in the world, even in this harsh and unforgiving corner of it. Then the sun slips below the horizon, and the magic is gone. The sky fades to a deep indigo, and the first stars begin to appear, impossibly bright in the clear tropical air. The brief twilight gives way to a sudden, encompassing darkness. Lanterns are lit and hung from the rigging, casting pools of warm, flickering yellow light on the deck. Their glow creates a small, intimate world of light and shadow, a fragile bubble of human presence in the vast, dark emptiness of the sea. The evening chores are completed in this soft, lantern-lit gloom. The ship settles into its nighttime rhythm. The only sounds are the creaking of the hull, the gentle lapping of water against the sides, and the low murmur of men's voices. The air is cool now, a welcome relief after the day's oppressive heat. You can feel the dampness returning, a familiar chill that seeps into your bones. The evening meal is the most substantial of the day. The cook has managed to prepare a stew. It is made from the last of the boiled salt beef, mixed with onions, potatoes, and whatever other vegetables were still edible from the ship's stores. The smell is rich and savory, a stark contrast to the blandness of the day's other meals. You get your ration in your bowl and find a place to sit with a small group of men near the mainmast. The stew is hot and flavorful, the saltiness of the beef tempered by the sweetness of the onions. You eat slowly, savoring every mouthful. This meal feels less like fuel and more like a reward. It is a communal act, a shared experience that reinforces the bonds between you and these men. With the food comes the second, more generous ration of grog. The rum is stronger this time, and it loosens tongues. The quiet, weary atmosphere of the midday meal gives way to a low buzz of conversation. Men talk about the day's work, about past voyages, about the women in the last port. They tell stories, boast, and complain. Their voices are a low, rumbling counterpoint to the sounds of the sea. Someone brings out a fiddle. It is Blackwood, the man who was working above you in the rigging. He is a surprisingly delicate-looking man for such a rough trade, with long, nimble fingers. He tucks the fiddle under his chin and draws the bow across the strings. A lively, familiar tune fills the air, a sailor's hornpipe. A few men begin to clap along, their hands slapping against their knees in time with the music. One man, a burly, bearded fellow named Angus, gets to his feet and begins a clumsy, shuffling dance on the deck, his heavy boots thumping on the wood. The music is a powerful medicine. It seems to wash away the weariness of the day, to lift the spirits of the crew. Men smile, they laugh. For a little while they are not just exhausted labourers or desperate outlaws. They are just men, sharing a moment of simple, human joy. You feel the tension in your own shoulders begin to ease. You tap your foot to the rhythm, a small, unconscious movement. You even feel the corner of your mouth twitch into something resembling a smile. The music continues for an hour or so. Blackwood plays jigs and reels and sad, slow airs that speak of home and lost love. A few men sing along, their rough voices surprisingly gentle in the quiet of the night. It is a moment of community, of shared culture, a fragile and beautiful thing in the midst of so much brutality. These moments are rare, and you have learned to cherish them. A historical point about pirate society is its surprising multiculturalism. A typical pirate crew was a melting pot of nationalities and races. It included Englishmen, Irishmen, Scots, Welshmen, Frenchmen, Dutchmen, Swedes, and a significant number of freed or escaped slaves of African descent. On a pirate ship, a man's worth was judged by his skill and his courage, not by the color of his skin or the place of his birth. This radical equality was another powerful draw for men marginalized by the rigid social hierarchies of the time. As the night wears on, the energy begins to fade. The music stops, the conversations die down. The men are succumbing to the deep, profound exhaustion that has been dogging them all day. One by one, they get to their feet and shuffle off toward their bunks, disappearing down the hatch into the darkness of the forecastle. You stay on deck for a while longer, reluctant to return to the stuffy, crowded sleeping quarters. You walk to the ship's rail and look out at the sea. The moon has risen, a bright, silver crescent that casts a shimmering path of light across the dark water. The stars are a dense, glittering blanket, so numerous and brilliant they seem almost close enough to touch. The only sound is the wind and the water. You think about the day, the pain in your back, the burn on your arm, the fear in the rigging, the brutal heat of the sun, the taste of the salt beef stew, the sound of the fiddle. It feels like a lifetime has passed since you woke up this morning, and tomorrow will be the same, and the day after. A chain of identical days stretching out into an unknown future. You feel a presence beside you. It is Silas, the quartermaster. He is leaning on the rail, his gaunt silhouette outlined against the starry sky. He does not speak for a long time. You stand together in a comfortable silence, two solitary figures looking out at the vastness of the night. "You did good work today, lad," he says finally. His voice is low and quiet, almost lost in the sound of the wind. "Thank you," you manage to say. Your voice sounds hoarse. "The block that broke?" He continues. "It was old. Should have been replaced weeks ago. My oversight." He says it simply. A statement of fact, not an apology. The captain was pleased with how quick you all got the yardarm secured. You nod, not knowing what to say. Praise is a rare commodity on this ship. "You keep your head," Silas says, turning to look at you. His pale eyes seem to gleam in the moonlight. "You don't panic, that's good. And you can count, that's better." He pauses. "We take a prize soon, a big one maybe. There'll be a lot of counting to do. I'll need a clerk." He does not say any more. He just gives you a slight nod, then turns and walks away, his tall frame disappearing into the shadows of the deck. You are left alone with his words, a strange mixture of hope and trepidation churning in your stomach. A clerk. It is a chance to use your mind, not just your body. A chance to be something more than a deckhand. But it is also a position of trust, of responsibility. It will set you apart. And on a ship like this, being set apart can be a dangerous thing. The cool night air is beginning to feel cold. A shiver runs through you. The last dregs of warmth from the grog have faded, and the exhaustion you have been holding at bay returns with a vengeance. It is a physical weight, a crushing pressure that seems to be pulling you down toward the deck. It is time to sleep. You make your way to the forecastle hatch and climb down the ladder into the familiar darkness and the thick, warm air. The symphony of snores has already begun. The air is even more foul than it was in the morning, heavy with the smells of the day's sweat and the exhalations of sleeping men. You find your bunk, your shelf in the wall, and you do not even bother to remove your clothes. You simply collapse onto the hard, unforgiving surface. The moment you lie down, the pain begins. During the day, the demands of the work keep you from fully noticing the aches and strains. But now, in the quiet and the stillness, your body begins to send its reports. Your back is a single, solid sheet of fire. Your knees are raw and throbbing. The burn on your arm stings with a renewed intensity. Your hands feel like they have been scraped with sandpaper. Every muscle, every joint, every inch of your skin seems to cry out in protest. Lying down is not a relief. It is a confrontation with the damage the day has done. You shift your position, trying to find an angle that lessens the pain. But there is no comfort to be found. The hard plank of the bunk seems to push back against your sore muscles, amplifying the ache. The thin, damp blanket offers no solace. Your mind, which was so blessedly blank during the afternoon's labor, is now a whirlwind of activity. The anxieties that were suppressed by exhaustion now rise to the surface. You think of Silas's words. What will it mean to be his clerk? Will the other men resent you? Will it put you in more danger? You think of the creaking of the mast, the vast, empty space below you. You can still feel the phantom sensation of swaying, even now, lying on a solid bunk. You worry about a storm. The weather in these latitudes can change in an instant. A calm sea can become a raging tempest in a matter of hours. You have been through one storm already, a terrifying experience of howling wind, crashing waves, and the constant, bone-jarring fear that the ship would be torn apart at any moment. You worry about disease, scurvy, dysentery, yellow fever. Men die of sickness far more often than they die in battle. You saw a man die of a fever 2 weeks ago. You watched him go from a strong, capable sailor to a delirious, shivering wreck in the space of a few days. His body was sewn into his own hammock with a cannonball at his feet and dropped over the side. There was a brief prayer, and then he was gone. You think of home. The memories are more vivid at night, in the dark. The smell of your mother's kitchen, the feel of your sister's hand in yours, the sound of rain on a slate roof. These memories are a form of torture, a reminder of a world you have lost, a world you may never see again. Does she remember you? Do you remember you? The you that existed before the salt and the tar and the fear. A wave of profound, aching loneliness washes over you, so intense it feels like a physical pain in your chest. You try to force the thoughts away. You focus on the sounds around you, the groaning of the ship's timbers, the rhythmic breathing of the man in the bunk next to you. These sounds are the reality. The past is a ghost. The future is a fog. There is only now, this moment, this pain, this weariness. The thoughts begin to fragment. The images in your mind lose their sharpness, blending into one another. The face of Silas, the flash of a fiddle bow, the blue of the sea, the black of the tar. Your anxieties and your memories dissolve into a slow, swirling current of sensation and emotion. The pain in your body begins to recede, to become a distant, muffled hum. This is the final surrender, the moment when the exhaustion becomes so absolute, so overwhelming, that it finally conquers the restless mind and the aching body. It is not a gentle drifting off. It is a fall, a plunge into a deep, dark, dreamless void. It is a mercy. It is a temporary death. Your breathing deepens, falling into the rhythm of the ship itself. Your body, which was tense with pain, finally goes slack. You are asleep. You are one with the 36 other sleeping men in the forecastle, your individual struggles and fears dissolving into a single, collective unconsciousness. You are resting, gathering the strength to face another day, another sun, another journey across the endless, indifferent sea. And so you sleep, the deep, profound sleep of the utterly exhausted, the kind of sleep that is not a luxury, but a biological necessity, as vital as air or water. The ship sails on through the darkness, a tiny, self-contained world of wood and rope and dreaming men, carrying you toward a dawn you cannot yet imagine. You have endured. That is the victory of the day. Not treasure, not glory, but the simple, brutal fact of your own survival. You have faced the sun and the sea and the crushing weight of your own labor, and you have made it to the other side, to the temporary sanctuary of the night. And as you lie there, lost in the depths of that merciful oblivion, perhaps you can feel a connection across the centuries, a connection to all those who have ever known a day of hard labor, who have ever felt the protest of their own body, who have ever pushed themselves to the limit of their endurance, and then a little bit further. From the farmer in his field to the builder on the skyscraper, the soldier on the march to the parent caring for a child, the struggle is the same. It is the human struggle to get through the day, to do what must be done, and to find, at the end of it all, the profound and necessary peace of rest. The pirate on his hard bunk in the stinking forecastle, and you in your soft bed centuries away. Both of you are seeking the same thing: the surrender, the release, the quiet restoration of sleep. The journey is different, but the destination is the same. So let go of your own day. Let its worries and its struggles fall away. Follow the pirate into that deep, dreamless peace. You have earned it. Good night. Sweet dreams.